you are.
Those darn alien dragons.
I
Oh,
got stunned into a
trolls.
laser.
we're live. I didn't see you there.
Live, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Look, I'm back.
Charlie's back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Casual Lorechat 29.
Yo.
Be sure to keep all arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times. I'm the White Guar. I will be your guide through this magical journey through the Arbus. Just try not to stare into the sales foam where everything is 1995. And we'll be good.
I'll stick my arms out the window if I feel like it.
Don't.
This evening, for those who care and who watch for my beer recommendations, Dragon's Milk this evening.
Oh, hell yes. I love Dragon's Milk.
Spent some time in Elsewhere recently and managed to milk me a dragon. That sounds dirty.
I'm
Proudly
drinking
brewed
Queen Iren soda.
proudly brewed in Holland, Michigan.
I'm
New Holland.
Lots of dragons there, apparently.
Yeah. They got one that they just, Yeah.
How many nipples do dragons have, anyway?
I don't know. It depends on the size of
Seven.
their liver, really.
7.
7 nipples. Yes.
Just one, but it's really long.
That's not a nipple. I wanted to kind of start with Elsewhere. How many of y'all have played Elsewhere in any capacity so far?
I haven't, but I have watched a playthrough of the main quest.
Okay, so you're familiar with it. I'm gonna avoid talking about the main quest as much as possible. There's some really cool stuff in it that would be a lot of fun to talk about, but we won't because it's so new.
So how about that hissed, huh?
Go
ahead.
Okay. But there are some things that aren't main quest related that I kind of want to point out because I'm kind of excited about them.
Like Sunspire?
I haven't had a chance to do Sunspire.
Okay.
And I think, didn't you send me like a video of it and I just never got to watch it? Okay, yeah.
I sent like some dialogue and stuff.
Yeah. I haven't had a whole lot of chance to look at that. I spent most of today like grinding my necromancer a bit. The necromancer is so much fun. So there was one bit I ran into that I thought was really interesting. Because I mean, clearly with the necromancer being the new class edition, they're playing a lot with death and undeath and the soul and all these things. And I found an area in Elsewhere. I think it's called the Scar or something.
The Action Scar.
There
are 2 scars. There's the Action Scar and the Weeping Scar.
I'm not sure which one, honestly. But you run into is it Vastari?
Help me, brother.
She appears to be an alien. She's a worshiper of Azura, and she wants your help to go check out this ancient Khajiit tomb. And it turns out that there's an ancient Dromothra lich.
Oh boy!
In this tomb here, and he's got multiple phylacteries. He's Voldemorting this shit. And so his essence is like slowly seeping up through the ground and raising all the dead things that are in this tomb. And
attention, all Elsewhere furries. Azura needs your help. The Drothmari or whatever it's called, Lich.
Azura is pretty cool.
It has taken over a temple and
she needs your credit card information.
Right. I was trying to get to there, but I forgot the whole copy pasta.
So the coolest thing through this quest is you find out that there were a group of basically Khajiit mystics, and I forget what they were called. But their whole thing is that they use necromancy. They don't call it necromancy because they don't consider it to be necromancy.
I think I saw something about that.
Yeah.
Don't they like just resurrect animals and stuff?
Oh no, they'll resurrect people. They will press the souls into the bones of their ancestors, and they will bring them back to life so that they can atone for their sins.
Sort of
That's
like
a
Mormons.
curious implication. That's
Yeah,
a curious application of necromancy.
Isn't it?
It sounds kind of what was her name? It was one of Galarian and Manamarco's associates. She I believe you meet her in Grotwood, but she advocates for the use of necromancy specifically for letting people say goodbye to their families.
No.
Like to bring someone back to life, that way they can give their final goodbyes and finalize their will and whatnot.
If I remember correctly, I think that like the Mormons think that you can like get baptized on behalf of your ancestors or something. So
I haven't heard that. I wish John were here, Jonathan, but would set us straight. He was raised Mormon, and so he knows all about that. So
I'm like that. That's why they have all those ancestry documents and stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever looked into that, you'll find like lots of Mormon websites in that regard, and so
Gotcha. So anyway, yeah, it's an interesting kind of moral necromancy. So with the Khajiit, they believe that if a Khajiit in question begins dancing to the beat of Lorcan's drum, Lorcage's drum, excuse me, which is the great darkness where Namira hides, that you'll end up becoming a Dromothra or a bent cat. That's what that means. And your tail is bent due to the wrong rhythm or whatever.
I get bent.
And so Namira.
There's a lot about rhythm and stuff.
And so it's kind of like it's the closest equivalent I've seen in the Elder Scrolls to like a Judeo-Christian hell, and in that I mean it's your choices and your choices and everything. You get judged and you get sent to whatever. It's based on how you live. And I think that there's another one for the Bosma. The ooze is pretty close.
Yes, the ooze. You get sent. To explain the ooze, you get sent there if you have broken the Green Pact. You never necessarily go to an afterlife. Your soul is just kind of stuck in the ooze.
Yeah.
That being said, you can be redeemed.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, and so that's the thing with the
It's for all the it's for all the Bosmos who aren't too keen on the idea of being reverse vegans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this sect of Khajiit priests who worship Azura, they're all Azura worshippers. They use necromancy to bring back the dead to try and have them atone for their sins so that they don't become Dromothra. And so this one lich, this Dromothra lich, I don't remember his name, but you're tasked with defeating him, and you got to find and destroy his phylacteries, and you have to effectively become a servant of Azura in doing this. And so you need to wield the Moonlight Blade, which is a ritual blade that's used to help ferry the souls of the departed from death back to life, so that they can.
Oh yeah.
Peace out.
And then to the sand behind the stars.
I heard about this.
Yeah.
Don't like can't you like cut between planes or something?
Something like that. And what caught me as interesting about that was how Vastari, she referred to it as, or no, maybe it wasn't her. It was there was a Khajiit spirit who shows up, and she's an Alfiq, and
nice.
She compares the sword to a road, and it makes me think about the 36 lessons, where Vivek mentions a road held as a sword.
Yes.
That was, I mean, I'd have to go back and
road, huh?
Yeah, they use the word road.
I'm pretty sure there's a lore book or something that says that Azura's realm is the pathway to the sands behind the stars.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And I mean, I haven't done all the quests in Elsewhere yet. I'm trying to level up my Necromancer first, and then I want to take my main character and go through all the stuff so that I can get all the goodies at max level. But that's just me. So that's what I mean. I don't know if anyone else had anything that they wanted to talk about in that topic at all.
There's a lot of things that can be discussed about Elsewhere, but right now I can't talk now. But like in 5 minutes, I will be able.
Okay. I will say that the dragon fights are very cool.
Oh yeah, much better than Skyrim.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The fact that they're effectively world bosses and they roam around too. Like they'll start at in the south of the map and they'll kind of wander and you've got to hunt them down.
A roaming world boss sounds very. That sounds like a very interesting concept.
Yeah. I mean they yeah. I mean it's not roaming in the same way that you might find in the Imperial City, where you've got the bosses that just kind of walk in a patrol path and they just kind of keep going that until they die. This is more, they'll go from point to point until they'll fly up and you can see them flying, and then they'll go to another spot and they'll stay there for a while and you can go and you can intercept them there. And once they start fighting, usually once someone starts fighting them, either the dragon or the person dies. So, so that's really cool. So you can see when a dragon's fighting, when it's just chilling, and then when it's traveling because it's moving around the map, and so you can kind of trace where it goes, and where its stopping points are if you watch long enough. What else? Yeah, the Necromancer's cool.
As it better be.
Yeah, I mean, some of the skills are kind of underwhelming, like Blast Bones. I don't know if it's a bug or if it's just not supposed to be an incredibly powerful skill, because it does. Go ahead.
The most underwhelming thing about Elsewhere is the Akaviri lore.
Yeah, some of the Akaviri stuff. I mean, they don't go very deep. They say, "Oh, they're Akaviri." They don't say. I don't think I've ever seen the word Saisi.
I see. They do.
I think they're worried to use. I think they're worried to use that word because people are gonna get upset about the pronunciation no matter what.
Oh, maybe.
So now they're just thinking.
There was one NPC at least who does use the term snake man.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. Well, and there's the Tomb of the Serpents, which is supposedly an Akaviri tomb, which, I remember the devs. I'm pretty sure it was either Tuttle or it was someone else.
Chic.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Chick.
Are you talking about the shape-shifting stuff?
No. I'm talking about how the Akaviri, they're always in full armor. You don't see any part of their skin.
I see.
You don't see any of that. So you get no information about what they actually look like. You just see their armor, which of course is very Japanese samurai. Oni mask.
And I mean, on the one hand, that helps slightly because it means no one's going to be able to criticize the model they're using. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, people are going to criticize that a lot.
Yeah, because I mean, it does appear to be lazy, honestly.
There isn't.
Yeah,
I
would agree.
There is an Akaviri world boss.
Yes. She's like the sword master. I don't remember what her name is. Vershide or something like that.
I think she's a Saisi, but it's unclear.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume they're all Saisi in Elsewhere, because the Akaviri the Saisi have been to Elsewhere, whereas the Kamal and the Kapotun and the Tango.
Here's the thing.
What's that?
Here's the thing. There's an NPC who explicitly differentiates between the Akaviri and the Saisi.
I'll have to find that.
She talks about, I think it's she, I don't know. She talks about how the Akaviri were enslaved by a race of vampire snakes or something.
Yeah, which is how Oh, what's that book? Is it On Akavir? Is that what it's called?
Mysterious Akavir.
Mysterious Akavir. Yeah, that's it. That's where we get the first real description of any of the races there. But yeah, so I did get a question or two from Silverama, where did Silverama put them? Oh,
What did you do? What did you do?
I lost my Enderman. Yeah, so I've got a PM open and I saw a little thing that started a question. I don't know where it went. Oh, okay, there we go. So the question was, what's the difference between Prisma and Anathema? So Silverama, I'm assuming you're watching. Are you talking about Anathema, which is a concept I came up with, or are you talking about Amaranth? Okay, Anathema.
I would also like to ask this. I'm curious about this concept of anathema you brought up because anathema, given the fact that it is actually just a word.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm somewhat curious about what you mean by this.
So anathema is a concept that I came up with in my slowed lore.
Okay.
And so when I wrote the slowed creation myth,
Slowed up.
The slowed and slowed creation myth are related, but they're not.
I know. I'm just goofing around.
Yeah, I mean, Slowda is probably my best narrative work I've ever written, because I spent more time on that than pretty much anything ever. But my creation, I felt like was more creative, and I tried to weave as much meaning into the words as I could. And a word I used was anathema, and I really chose that word because it's a word that I like. It's a neat sounding word, and based on what it means, which is effectively like complete and utter hatred. It's almost an antithesis.
I was gonna say a good example is like asking someone, "Is fun just anathema to you?"
Yeah.
It's basically saying like, does fun just make you physically ill?
Yeah, and so
or like the if you compare restoration and necromancy, for example, restoration is anathema to necromancy.
Yeah, exactly. And so anathema, given its definition, I'm of the mind that the slowed hate. That is what they do. They are the hatred that exists in the Arbus. And because of their hatred, they don't want to do what the Dwemer did. They don't want to leave. That would make things too easy for everyone else. They know
They just to fuck things up for everyone else.
Yeah, they say, we know you don't like us, but we're gonna stick around to spite you. That's what we're gonna do. We hate.
Funny thing about the Slowed.
Yeah. I mean, they're nasty creatures. That's what they are.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
I was watching a playthrough of the Somerset main quest on YouTube, and the girl gets to a part where you have to like solve a puzzle with books, and it reveals a door. And one of the books was about sloths, and she decided to read it. Live camera, and she learns about how sloths make soap with their babies.
Oh yeah.
And her live reaction to it was hilarious.
Yeah. Slowed aren't sapient until they reach adulthood. So it's okay, right?
Let's see, let me. Oops. No, Control F.
Just remember that as being some kind of joke about like why the Slowed don't care that much. Why they're totally fine with just eating their own kids.
Yeah. So to tie it more to the Slowed, they hate everything. And so, according to the Slowed creation myth, the goal of Throth, who is the biggest Slowed, right? Slowed equates size to knowledge. The bigger you are, the more you know. The more
of course.
The more respect others must they must defer to you.
At that point, I would bring up the concept that Slodes basically kind of see themselves as being computers.
Mhm.
So obviously, if you are bigger, you have more storage space. Therefore,
Yeah,
you know more.
Yeah, something like that. And so I refer to that as the knowings. You grow with the knowings of whatever. And so there's a specific part in here. This is where anathema first comes up in the Slug creation myth. After 4 Daedric princes have come to Thras and to the Slode and say, hey, we can teach you to do this, we can teach you to do this other thing, etc. The Thras says, Thras thundered in answer that the fourfold and its kin are but detestable and insignificant in the sea of void, that to persist is to scorn the wheel. So to persist is to scorn. Like, they stick around because they know others hate it. Take their knowings, my progeny, but give them nothing, Thras said to the Slode. Take their spheres, my children, and let them want for more. Take their spokes and their flails, my blood, and smile not, for they deserve not your pity nor mirth. Unmask thy form, only to discern no mask at all. As the numerous Thracians grow to stress Nur, so too do multiply. Go, my pawns, deny all that would be said unto you, so that this old pitted marble and bile may seize that tattered mantle once congealed. Anathema is the 7th and final tenet of the Slode.
Cool.
And so that whole thing about deny all that is said to you, so this old pitted marble and bile may seize that tattered mantle once congealed. I'm talking about Thras effectively mantling Manny Marco and becoming Revenant, the Necromancer's moon.
That's so fucking weird, but okay.
Yeah, well, that's what he wants to do. Thras was the first Slode and fell back through time from Revenant to land in the Pearled Sea. And so he wants to go back up there, but he wants to take the place of his father, as it were. He wants to replace him. And so anathema is, in my mind, kind of a it's almost an anti-Kim in a way. It isn't love under will, it's hatred under will. You're using your hatred as a source of energy. And in this case, anathema is what allows Thras to remain in the face of Numidium. Because Numidium can't delete it.
Big bully Numidium fails again.
Mm-hmm. Well, hatred and size. That's the other part of it.
Yeah.
Thras is so huge, displaces so much water memory, that not even.
If Numidium says no, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so ingrained in memory. You cannot.
I'm so fat, you can't do it.
Basically, yeah. He's too fat.
Oh God, he's too fat. Everyone run.
There was a third bit that I added. The denial. I mean, it was way after the fact, where denial, which is Numidium, comes and kind of has a conversation with Thras, and Thras tells him, "Take your no and shove it up your ass, because I ain't moving." And that's basically how that goes. And the second part is about Hermaeus Mora, and it's basically a beef between these two gods of knowledge, one being Hermaeus Mora, the other being Thras. So back to Rama's question of let me pull it back up so I get the word again. What's the difference between the prisoner and anathema? I mean, the prisoner is the prisoner. The metaphysical.
The prisoner isn't necessarily hateful.
Yeah, I mean, the prisoner is free, and so the
That's
prisoner.
more LJ.
I would also
right?
say that technically anathema isn't free.
Technically, no, because anathema is I mean, you're locked into your hatred. That's you can't do anything else. You hate so much that to deviate from the course of anathema would be to stop hating, and you'd hate to do that. So I mean, I mean, the prisoner is a figure, and Matt
the prisoner is the spoke upon which the wheel turns.
Yeah.
Anathema is just part of the wheel.
Someone mentioned LJ.
Yeah. about the prisoner like hating the wheel and the dream. That's LJ's thing, and I don't necessarily agree with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, no. Whenever I'm the prisoner, I love the dream.
the bit of LJ's Anuvanasi stuff, specifically regarding the prisoner, that I like is the idea that the prisoner is the dreamer trying to wake himself up. And that
I think that's a bit much. I think his essay is really good. It's really interesting, but I think he kind of goes crazy, like halfway through. I mean, and that's part of the fun, but I don't necessarily subscribe to it.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to get through the whole thing. I haven't actually done it yet. I'm sorry, LJ.
I did.
I'm a very busy man.
Can I get back to Azura and stuff that we were talking before?
Sure. I just want to
roads
make
and
sure.
swords.
I want to make sure that kind of satisfies Silverama's question. I know Silverama's watching. I'm pretty sure.
All right.
No response, so I'm going to assume if you want more of Silverama, just type something to me and I'll get to it. So Azura, Matt.
Oh yeah, sorry. So you were talking about how the stuff about the necromancers and the Azura sword or something, right?
Yeah, it was like the Moonlight Sword.
Yeah, so I searched about it and I did find the quote I mentioned. They talk about how Azura's realm is a gate through which one crosses to the sands behind the stars. I'll post it. I don't know the context of this line because I got it from the data mining, but here's the actual quote. I'm going to post it here.
Okay. So on the edge of eternity, Azura watches the gates of the crossing behind the lunar lattice. It is a twilight realm where the death's tide reaches the afterlife's shore. Khajiit must pass through it before they reach what waits beyond.
Azura is a very transitional goddess, from what I
Well,
get.
yeah, she is
Yes, she is.
effectively the god of transitions.
And so she helps the Khajiit with the transition between life and death. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one really good thing to point out is that she is the god. She is the Prince of Dusk and Dawn, but not literally.
Yeah,
She is the Prince of Dusk and Dawn in that Dusk and Dawn are
Opposites.
transitionary periods.
Transitionary opposites, but yeah.
I like that, Dan.
Confession to make. I used to kind of hate Azura, but after Elsewhere, I don't know, I kind of like the girl.
Yeah.
It depends on where Azura is. In some places, she's not exactly the most likable person.
I was about to say, when Azura is interacting with Man or Mur, I really can't stand her. But I really like Azura with an H, the Khajiit version.
Because they are.
Because I mean, she almost takes a motherly role, so she almost kind of intrudes on Mara's sphere a little.
Azura is that middle-aged woman who hates everyone, but has a lot of cats she likes.
Yeah, I want to say it's been pointed out in the past, the concept that Azura effectively hates the fact that she missed out on actually being a divine. Like, she wanted to be a divine after it was too late for her to become one.
See, but I feel like it wouldn't be because of being an Aedra itself. That's not what entices her.
But more that she did not get to create anything that would largely be considered real
or beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she made her realm, but it's just her. It's not something unique. It's not something that exists on its own.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Others.
Well, on top of that, how much more do the people of Mundus revere the Aedra over the Daedra?
Yeah. The Aedra sacrificed part of their power to create Mundus, therefore the people revere them.
Yeah, and Azura feels like a second-class citizen because of it.
I mean, she
in the
did
eyes
do
of
something.
Yeah, because remember
That's the thing.
Go ahead, Matt.
There's so much interesting stuff with the Khajiit and Azura and other stuff in elsewhere that I want to talk about, like the lunar lattice. What's up with that? What is your understanding of the lunar lattice?
The lunar lattice is weird.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's
because
so on one hand, it is a shield that guards.
around Mundus.
Yeah, it's a protective layer.
The lunar lattice is a protective layer, and you follow the Jaka-J to walk through the lunar lattice. But the
That's the
Jaka-J is
thing.
not necessarily the fastest way to get through.
Yeah,
That's the thing. From the way your guys are describing it, it sounds like the lunar lattice is just the Khajiit name for the liminal barriers between Mundus and
Sort
Oblivion.
of.
well,
The
But
thing,
it's not. It's actually not.
Okay, I think I might be able to give a sort of explanation to this, if you wouldn't
Yeah,
mind.
I was about to get to that because of lore from elsewhere.
Okay. The
There's-
best way I can really put it,
Go ahead.
in terms of the lunar lattice and the Jaka-J, the lunar lattice, it is kind of the liminal barriers, but it is also
But
in
it
a way
seems-
sort of existence, and you follow
Yeah.
the Jaka-J to walk through it. It's think of it as like, to get through life, you have to go through a maze. Some people get through it quickly, some people get through it slowly, but ultimately everyone arrives at the same point. And the
I
whole
didn't
point of the
find-
Jaka-J is that you're not necessarily going through the fastest route, you're going to the route that to you is the most pleasurable, the most meaningful route. Effectively, I am a mouse going through a maze, but I'm not trying to get to the end to get the big cheese. I want to get to the end, but also get the tiny pieces of cheese that are in different spots.
I want cheese now.
Yeah, you're
Same.
trying to get the most out of life before the end.
See, there's at least 2 lines in elsewhere that talk about how the lunar lattice is actually. Yeah, Silent just said it outright. They talk about how it is the eternal unified spirit of all Khajiit souls. And I'm going to post the quotes here because it's very interesting. Because from the way you guys described it, it sounds like a general thing, but it seems to be way more specific to elsewhere in the Khajiit than all of Mundus.
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to post a few lines here.
It's more the life of Khajiit. I guess could be
Okay, one
a
quote.
somewhat decent way to put it.
I've encountered this dialogue here.
There's another one.
Yeah. Dark Moons, has the faith truly withered that much? Azura is the mother of all Khajiit. She lifted us up and bound us to the lunar lattice. Hers is the gift of Jaka-J, the eternal unified spirit of our people, and all our perfect forms. The great well of Khajiiti spirits, the eternal soul that binds one cat to another. Arum Kal hates Azura. Arum Kal, that's the Dromathra Lich.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
created his own planet to run
Yeah.
from death. I saw
That's something.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the priestess was saying there, all are perfect forms. That's something I want to point out with the Khajiit that I feel a lot of other groups, like a lot of other races in tests, kind of have problems with. To the Khajiit, all forms are perfect. It doesn't matter what first stock you are perfect. You are Khajiit.
Well, I think who
Khajiit are by far the most tolerant people in Tamriel.
yes.
Correct.
But the person who's giving this dialogue is actually I don't know if I'd call him dead, but he's a Khajiit whose soul inhabits the Moonlight Sword, the Moonlight Blade.
Interesting.
So what was that? Arum Kal hates Azura and fears reunion with the souls of his people. That is why he created this dead realm of his. Yeah, and then you end up going to his realm to actually defeat him. There's a bit where you got to go and track down his phylacteries, and you use the Moonlight Blade to, well, rather, you don't use it, the spirit dude, the other Khajiit who's inside, he jumps out and he keeps the bit of Arumkal's soul from escaping back to the plane he created. So was it? He says I will dance on the barrier and impede his crossing or something like that. And so
Oh yeah, dancing.
he destroys that bit of Arumkal's soul. And so you got to go and destroy these phylacteries and the bits of soul that are contained within, and then it weakens him enough for you to go and kill him. It's a really cool quest.
There's a lot of things about the moons and the lunar lattice as a song or a dancing elsewhere, which is why Silent and myself suggested that it's the Kajiri Tower. It harmonizes reality through song and dance.
And I'm a little skeptical about that, about the tower a bit personally, because
Okay, so
I
2 words. You play the main quest, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say 2 words because I think you're going to get the connection. Tower dancing.
I feel inclined.
You gotta admit.
Sorry.
If you play the main quest, you know when I'm talking the elsewhere main quest, you know why I say that. And there's some undeniable connections there.
Okay.
Between what happens.
I think I'm smelling what you're stepping in here. I think I'm.
Great way to put it.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Sorry.
I think I can kind of see what you're getting at. I can kind of make an inference. The reason I might initially agree with Andrew and say I'm a bit skeptical on it is mostly because I don't believe every single culture and every single group has to have a tower.
Let me correct. I'm not saying it is a literal tower. I'm saying it's their equivalent to a tower.
All right.
See, and my understanding has
I'll allow
been,
it.
my understanding of the Khajiit Tower has always been that the Khajiit, the literal Khajiit, that they climb onto each other's shoulders to form a ladder to the moons. That ladder, that's the tower. It's stone.
So isn't the lunar lattice the unified spirit of all Khajiit?
Yeah, no, that's I'm trying to reconcile the two. Is what I'm trying to do. That's what's going on up here right now. So I mean, I like what Silence. I like what you said here. The lunar lattice is the Khajiit tower. Each form of Khajiit is a different floor that needs to be walked through to get to the moons or the sands. The main is the foundation layer. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense on its own, but then we got this Khajiit tower or this ladder thing going on, and so I'm trying to unified in purpose, maybe.
Oh, this is a running ball.
So I mean, I don't know. That's God. I wish Michael were here. I'd love to get his
Michael, show up already.
His input on this. But I don't know. I can bug him on that later. Just out of my own curiosity.
What else can be said? They talk a lot about how the moons communicate through song and through dance, and how Alkosh provides the rhythm for the music as in time.
Where have I heard that? The Song of the Spheres.
A lot of it's a concept from Aristotle that gets used a lot in fiction, notably Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I know.
The music of the spheres.
Yeah, music of universalis. Universal music is called the music of the spheres, harmony of the spheres. Ancient philosophical concept that regards proportions in the movements of celestial bodies as a form of musica, the medieval Latin term for music.
And that's exactly what the lunar lattice does. The orbits of the moons are the dance. The time that takes for them to orbit is the rhythm. and the lattice is the producing song.
That's fucking sweet.
Always gotta love musical references in chess.
Yeah. Well,
And
no,
the third
the fact
and there's the
that
third moon. That's Lorechat. It's the drumming beat.
how about the fourth moon?
Is there a difference?
Oh, fourth
How about
moon
the
is
10th moon?
the fourth moon
Me.
is the main.
It's debatable, but yeah, maybe.
Ah,
Or maybe the third.
the main. He I mean, not necessarily he, but the main. Every time there's a new main, they take bits of the main of other mains and they attach them until you've got this big fur ball, a sentient fur ball. It becomes another moon, which that may just be Khajiit Coda stuff.
It's from the second edition pocket guide. But yeah, Khajiit Coda.
Yes, well, I mean,
Red
the moon part. I know the attaching the hair from the mains of other mains is
See, I
No,
was
the
always pretty
fur
sure it
ball-
was attaching the hair of the people from their tribe, not
Yeah.
necessarily the
well,
previous
there's a
mains.
drawing.
Yeah, it depends on
I'm
the
pretty
reader.
sure MK did it.
Yeah, MK did a drawing, but that was specifically the hairs of like his tribe members that was given to him.
Oh, I got up. Is that it? There it is. There it is.
I can't see it, but let me guess. It's the one where he has like you basically just
No,
only
ha-
see his face, and then it's just fur everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
There's
the one I
also
have.
a
That's
drawing
the one
of
I'm
the
thinking
moon.
of. Yeah.
There's a book in Elsewhere about the third moon.
Here, I'm gonna copy image address. I'm gonna drop that right there, and then I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if I can zoom in on this. So this,
Yeah.
yeah. So this giant, you can see his face kind of hiding in here. This is the current main of Elsewhere, Nadhata, wearing the braids and hairlocks of his entire tribe. Okay, yeah. So he is from the hair of his tribe. That's interesting.
It's still a big tribe.
Yeah. And then so where am I getting the?
I don't know why, but that Khajiit just looks really, really smug.
I love it.
Yeah, I was going
And
to say the face is
It
great.
screams into it.
Andrew, I think what you might be was there was another part. It may have been in one of the earlier Guide to the Empire where it was
There's not the second.
they used to have missionaries send out like the individual haylocks from each tribe, and then as people grew too numerous, it was just frankly not a good idea. So it started being cut down so that it wasn't just like
Yeah, because he couldn't move.
sorry, go
It
ahead.
was like it was like the hairs of every Khajiit in Elsewhere. And it
See,
got to
I
a
know
point where the
Khajiit
main
stuff
couldn't move.
occasionally.
And it got to the point where the main couldn't move, so they
Yeah.
limited it to just his tribe.
I think there was also there might be a different reading that said it was just each tribe would send like one lock of like a small donation of all of their hair, so it would still sort of count, but it wasn't just so much. But somewhere else. I have a bad habit of forgetting the name.
Check out that book, Andrew. It's 2 paragraphs. It's very short.
Oh, let me open the thing here. Which one? Elsewhere.
The tale. No, the tale.
Tale through is. Okay.
The first one is a collection of books.
Should I should I read it out loud? So we're
Sure.
okay. I want to pull over here so it's bigger. I'm an old man. My eyes are failing.
My eyes have failed me for the last time.
It's like old Megatron.
Yes.
Damn it, Starscream's eyes! You failed me for the last time
Yeah.
again.
Now I Starscream and the leader.
Okay. All right.
Now,
So, in a time before our people's first memory, but long after Azura's pyre claimed the flesh of the proud lion Lorcaj, our great mother wept and sighed, haunted by the fate of her brother's dark heart. As she prowled the hills and valleys of her wide domain, she could not escape the pounding, the faint but constant drumbeat from across the churning seas. Somewhere in the great darkness, the fell rhythm of the moon beast quickened and grew stronger. Knowing that her children of many shapes would fall to the moon beast profanity, she purred across the stars, coaxing the lanterns of Joan and Jode to make way for a sky guardian. This third moon and shield of the lattice shone its light down upon Azura's litter of purest heart and most fervent obedience. She called these cats the litter of the hidden moon, and taught them the lunar byways and secrets of the merciful blade. Litter of the hidden moon, yeah. From that time on, they loved her as no other Khajiit could love her, and in that love found sympathy for all cats bent by the beating of the heart. Beloved adepts, take these words into your heart and know that we keep Azura's commandments still, for we are the children of the hidden moon.
That's so fucking great.
Yeah,
I love this.
Yeah, it's Ashen Scar. That's where that is. That's again part of that. That's that group that uses necromancy to get Khajiit to atone for their sins.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm really glad.
yeah. The secrets of the merciful blade. That's the Moonlight Blade. Yeah, sympathy for all cats bent by the beating of the heart. Yeah, so they can do it on Dromothra too. They can basically save Dromothra. That's a little evangelical, isn't it?
Just a touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good. The Chronicles of Juhari is the best book in Elsewhere, in my opinion. It's main quest related, so maybe not go into that. Oh, you guys are talking about souls. That reminds me. There's a Bosmer NPC in Elsewhere.
See the one at the prowl. Okay.
The one that ate a soul gem.
Oh,
And-
goodness, that's not a
Oh,
good
yeah,
idea.
We've beat him a couple of times.
I'm pretty sure that was a question we had on Testlore, because I started doing those bi-weekly theme threads and headcanon threads. The one for right now up until tomorrow is soul gems, and someone asked, well, what happens if you eat a soul gem?
There's
Yes.
an answer in Elsewhere. So what happens is that there's a Bosmer envoy for the Dominion in Elsewhere.
Yeah.
And when you meet him, you find he's weird because he has like some weird clothing. He has a mechanic eye. He has like a metal arm and stuff. You're like, what the hell's up with this guy?
Is he an apostle or something?
Then you're like, hey, who are you? What's up? And then he explains that he was sent by the Dominion to Skyrim to look at ruins beneath Sartal.
Okay.
Because the Dominion was curious about something that could be there. They're talking about the Eye of Magnus.
Yeah, massive foreshadowing.
Clearly. Also potential relationship there. Kinmune.
Yeah.
The
Anyway,
Dominion,
good old Kinmune.
Iran, yeah.
Good old robot.
Anyway,
To answer
Anyway,
your question, Gua, just quickly,
go on.
he's not an apostle. The soul gem.
I was going to get there.
All right, okay, carry on then.
Okay, so because thankfully the Khajiit, the Bosmer was kind of incompetent and he didn't find anything. So imagine if he did, the Dominion would get her hands on the Eye of Magnus 1,000 years before Skyrim.
Oh, heck.
That would have been hilarious. Are you kidding?
Yeah, also.
No, yeah, but during his time in the ruins beneath Sartal, he accidentally swallowed a soul gem.
Oh,
How?
goodness. Listen, it was a really crazy Fredos night.
And because he's a Bosmer, and Bosmer can eat anything, his digestive system didn't manage it, somehow didn't die. He didn't die from eating a giant crystal.
Because I think I had some theories about what might happen with that. Let me go to
And then here's the thing. Here's what happened after he ate and digested the soul gem.
Yes, tell me.
That wasn't just a random soul gem. That was a soul gem of a Dwemer.
What the fuck?
He becomes Tom Fulp.
And after eating the soul gem, he gets instinctive knowledge of how Dwemer technology works.
That is hilarious.
And he learns how to make animalculae work, and he starts to put like mechanical body parts on himself, and he fixes the Dwemer elevator beneath Sartol, and that's why it works in Skyrim.
That's funny. Well, I found the post here. Probably a ridiculous question, but what would happen if an aspiring mage chose to ingest a soul gem? I got this idea from the ever distracted court mage in Riften. I said depending on the size of the gem, I would imagine a few things could happen. One, digestive blockage requiring hours of surgery.
Right.
Two, the gem passes and remains unchanged. Or three, bits and pieces of the energy stored in the gem are either absorbed by the body or harm the insides, like digesting a ghost pepper or something, but less chemical borne and more energy burned.
Okay, I have a small addition to this because I distinctly remember reading something like this in probably Skyrim, about how certain soul gems were more dangerous than others, and that new mages shouldn't handle them for too long, otherwise parts of their soul might get stuck in them if you have the wrong.
There was a text talking about how black soul gems would like sapping parts of the user into them.
Excellent, that did exist.
Let's be real. If you can't fit a grand soul gem up your ass,
on trial.
Are you really a wizard if you can't fit that up there?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No, he won't.
Here's the NPC, by the way. This is the guy.
Of course his name's Paul. Anyway, I have a question in addition to that, which is, if you swallowed an empty soul gem, or were tricked into doing that, would it just rip your soul out from inside you?
Not unless a soul trap is cast on you.
Yeah, because at that point, I feel like the gem itself is inert. You may as well have swallowed a rock. Like, it's.
I mean, that also isn't recommended.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
I don't recommend doing it.
Yeah, don't do that. But I mean, after
you're gonna waste your whole weekend.
After the terrible, terrible pain you will have in your intestines, and you finally pass that sucker,
you might be feeling better-ish.
Yeah.
Not really.
So someone responded to me and said, "But have you considered, 1, soul gems are shiny and look like rock candy. 2, you might absorb the energy from whatever souls are held in the gems. And 3, spicy."
I feel like soul gems are the explicit reason rock candy does not exist in tests.
That's probably
no. I am 100% convinced that quest in Morrowind where Ajira has you replace Galbadir's soul gem, that's rock candy.
Yeah, it's just put.
That's just skooma.
It's a gift. Sugar is great.
Yeah,
Surely they would be happier with.
It's crack cocaine.
Do they even have surgery in Tamriel?
Yeah.
In my head, yes. I also have the flesh sculptors that were mentioned.
Well, you have the flesh sculptors, but at the same time, I would argue that a competent enough restoration wizard could very easily be a surgeon.
Oh yes, definitely.
I mean, we know that they. This is probably not the best example to bring up, but we know that there's that character in Somerset who changed her gender with magic.
Hey, yeah. Back in my wheelhouse. Except I also haven't played that, so I also can't. But
so we're like adjacent to your wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's me like jumping over the fence, like
jumping rapidly, trying to say, "Hey!"
You can jump into the bed of that truck, but you don't know if it's worth it. You might break a leg.
I'm really hesitant to play Somerset almost exactly for that reason. just because like I hear it's good, but also it might give me uncomfortable feelings.
Listen, Dan.
Yes?
If you get uncomfortable feelings, you can just tell me about it, and I'll send you a meme.
Fantastic.
Any meme. I'll just send you some random one.
If you get uncomfortable, I will
Randomly.
yell at Lawrence Schick myself.
If you are uncomfortable,
Lawrence Schick is a very nice man, and I don't
he
yell at
is.
him.
I feel like Lawrence Schick is a very nice man, and I would not want to yell at him ever.
Also,
I would feel way too bad about it.
I still owe him like $50.
Oh wow!
I need to hear the story. By the way, why do you owe him $50?
yes, we need this.
Let me show you.
Oh,
Oh, is it that
show
tunic
and
he got
tell.
sent?
Also, sup guys? Just
I don't know
sitting
who's
at my,
talking.
friend's
Who is this
graduation party.
Hi, Connor.
This is why.
I can't say.
Heck.
Cannot see.
Hey, there
Just
we
a
go.
red
Oh my
t-shirt.
This is my tunic.
the robe. There you
Well,
go.
it's a leather tunic.
Oh goodness.
This thing is handmade.
That's gotta be
Like-
heavy.
Like, and I know he goes to Ren fairs. Lawrence Schick wore this at a Ren fair. I found one of his hairs on it.
Oh god, that's creepy.
And then there's this.
This
Like,
got creepy.
And just a touch.
and here's the
Just
other
a
one.
smidge.
This is a sleeveless tabard with a hood.
Oh, fuck, I'm jealous.
He sent me both of these, and I told him I'd pay for both the items and for the shipping.
Was this when he was doing his big clear out before he moved?
Yeah, before he moved to Ireland. Yeah.
I heard this. I was there when you told me about.
Yeah,
Oh,
so those are what he sent me. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with them, but they're great.
Just looping back to the topic of surgery, just because you brought up a really good point here. There is absolutely magic that can be used to do surgery without actually making incisions into the skin, magical appendectomies, etc. I agree if you're really talented, but I would also argue that it would probably require the same kind of background in study of.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, no, you would still study medicine. Like my point there is that if you were to say like an apothecary who is an adept restoration mage, I would argue that if they have a background of understanding surgery, they could very easily perform a surgery with magic. They would of course still be using tools to actually cut in, but they rather than having to use stitches to close everything up, they could quite literally just use restoration magic, which I will always argue that any healing magic in the form of restoration is basically just suturing up with magic.
I like to think.
I'd go a step further. Maybe even just lay on hands, direct wound. Like there's a screwed up organ, lay on hands directly.
No, listen. If there is a rock stuck in someone's stomach, we are cutting them open.
Of course, yeah.
There's also the fact that I feel like a lot of directed restoration magic is probably somewhat difficult to use on internal organs without expending a lot of energy that you could otherwise save by performing surgery.
Yeah, I feel like you'd have to use some serious meta magic spells, meta magic feats to precise spell and all that.
What's
in
really great
in
about-
5th edition, they changed how meta magic works, which is upsetting for me. I'm a
Listen.
through 3.5 player.
Listen, why play 3.5 when you can just play 5th edition because it's better?
5th edition's great, and I will move to it after we finish our Marvel playthrough.
Do you mind if I go on a tangent about a thing Wizards of the Coast did recently?
Sure.
So somewhat recently, within this month, Wizards of the Coast released an updated version of Artificer. The Artificer that they had released a few years back. It is really fun. I'm somewhat disappointed with some of their choices because all the Artificer classes feel like kind of feel like pet classes now. Yeah. But they changed how infusions or how enchanting items work. it's called infusion, and each infusion has its own limitations. It has its own requirements for what you need in order to perform that infusion. One of them in particular, however, is an infusion that is explicitly about crossbows. It makes the crossbow magical, and it removes the loading property for crossbows, which means you can multi-attack with it.
Yeah.
And it's magic. And it's great.
Yes. So going back to the surgery thing. Dan said in chat, "Fuck it, it's going in here." Then the best part of the surgery discussion is that there's every reason to believe that any and all of these ideas would coexist simultaneously as different schools and practices.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, and but see that here's the thing that I'm wondering, and this thought crossed my mind a few minutes ago. Why spend time learning the medicine? Like, let's say, for simplicity's sake, let's put it in modern day terms. Why go through the 4 years of school necessary to be a doctor, or whatever, or whatever the time frame is? I don't fucking know. I'm a teacher. What do I know?
4 to 8.
Ooh, I can give
Is
a good
it
reason.
closer to 8?
My mother's
Is
a doctor, and she had 8 years of university.
Okay. Yeah.
if I may ask, is the question here in particular why go through those years of college when you can just use magic?
Well, I mean, you can put the same amount of effort into learning the magic.
Well,
What's
first off,
the
I would argue
benefit?
that if you are learning that medicine, you are also learning the magic at the same time, if it's a competent enough university. But my actual other reason is that if we go by the logic of older test games, Magicka does not regenerate very quickly. So you can't just rely on magic, especially in war-torn areas where there's a lot of people to heal up.
I just now decided I'm going to write a piece that is a lecture done at the Arcane University in Imperial City in the operating theater that they have there. I'm going to rely on my wife, who is a radiologic technologist. She's going to tell me like bone names.
It's so cool.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna.
I kind of want to.
Yeah.
I kind of want to
Just
write,
make
like,
sure
a
you're.
story
Just make sure the.
Hold on, Charlie. What's that, Dan?
I kind of want to write like a dueling article from a different school, telling the reasons why they don't like your school of thought in particular. I don't
A response to Barrow's
I
speech,
don't
anyone?
Sorry.
A response to Barrow's speech, anyone?
Yeah. Oh.
There's nothing more fun than two fictional scholars yelling at each other.
Yeah. I would say be careful that in the operating theater, don't operate on Argonian, because then you're going to have to get into the concept of Argonians are really, really, really weird on the inside.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No. I'd probably use an Imperial or something just to keep it as close to like human as possible.
And you know what? At that point, I may as well have my Dureni character also write a paper telling you that you're full of shit.
Well, I mean, this is probably going to be a narrative of like a group of students in the operating theater with like their professor like explaining how to use magic to repair these particular bones, and then it's it's difficult. You got to get around this bone here. So when going at the zygomatic arch, you gotta go through this part, this other part. I that was the only bone that had a name that I really knew. So
when repairing the femur.
Actually, that's a really good point, because I'm also thinking of like the horrible shenanigans that go on with like magical medical students, where it's just like, yeah, I know how to fix a broken arm. Like, here, I'll just do it, and then it turns out that
then you screw up,
and then accidentally fuse this guy's wrist shut, and now
and then suddenly you've got a thing of bone going.
No, God, wait, please, no. Now Chocoban is going to know magic. He's going to screw people up even more.
I did actually have a half-written story I might submit of a guy who like half read a beginner's textbook to like home healing and hedgecraft, and like tried to fix a nick on his finger from when he was cutting onions or something, and just didn't know what he was doing, and just fused all of his fingers together.
Oh no.
That sounds awesome.
That is the worst.
I'm Kraken finding where that.
Connor, you got bicked. What does that mean?
I don't know what that means.
Me
I'm
neither.
sorry.
I don't
I-
want to know what that means.
Hey there, everybody. Johnny here.
Hi, Johnny.
I had
Hey,
a question for you, Andrew.
Yay!
But I can also tell you what bicked means.
Okay.
That means when somebody steals your Bic lighter. You got to be a smoker to know.
Yeah, I remember.
Not necessarily.
Like
Well,
I've
that's
had
one way.
It's one possible meaning, yeah.
I had middle school students explain to me what a plug was.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Oh no, like I gave a girl an eraser and she was like, "Oh, thanks, you're a plug." And I was like, "What?
What did you call?
Oh, you're a plug. You hooked me up. You're my plug."
Gee,
You got called
That's
an
funny.
eraser plug. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Children are
That's
wonderful.
Completely different, I'm
Holy
sorry.
shit.
And then I later asked my wife, and she was like, "No, that's a drugs reference." I was like, "Oh, okay."
I thought it was an anal
That's
plug
funny.
reference. I'm disturbed.
Yeah.
All right.
This is
So
kind of fucked up.
I just got a couple slowed questions since you're the slowed master. So I've been listening in the whole time, but I have a couple slowed questions I wrote down from before.
Mm.
So,
I
is
lo-
your slowed knowledge headcanon mostly, or do you have a lot of like? Okay,
I mean,
cool.
most of it's headcanon. Some of it came from information that I'm technically not supposed to know, but then
Oh yeah, sweet.
so the idea that Thras is actually a giant slowed, as I was told, comes from Michael Kirkbride.
Oh, perfect.
It was a
Even
conversation.
better.
Which makes enough sense as
It was a
is.
conversation that Kirkbride and someone else had, and that someone else shared it with me.
Okay,
So
so going farther,
Yeah.
the bigger they are, the smarter they are. In that sense, is it like do they get bigger by eating, or do they get bigger by learning things?
it's I would imagine a little bit of both because it's based on their age.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
the older they are, the bigger.
Oh, so
kind of like lobsters in that sense. Right?
yeah, that's what I was about to say. They just
Yeah.
keep growing.
Yeah, just kind
That's cool.
of effectively immortal. But the thing is, you've got an island archipelago. Archipelago.
Archipelago.
I fucking hate that word.
Why?
You've got I don't know. It's hard to say.
Great word.
So you've got these islands full of evil geniuses, and all of
Mhm.
them want to prove that they are the evilest genius there.
Yeah.
Their life
Okay.
expectancy isn't terribly long. So
So here's a hypothetical question. Could a slowed, let's say Thras, he's the biggest guy,
Mhm.
could they become so knowledgeable and so smart that they kind of see the error in their ways and kind of go insane, like how Sheo Gorath did?
I would
when
argue that
he-
they're too narcissistic to ever do that.
no, yeah,
Yeah,
no, that
too much in their being.
because I mean they see knowledge as something
Yeah.
to hoard.
It's like that.
It's not necessarily practical unless it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's like that
and-
scene from The Simpsons where Skinner asks, "Am I the bad guy?" No, it's the kids who are wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And so do they like read books? Like do they have arms and stuff?
Oh yeah, they have arms.
Oh yeah,
Right.
well,
Some
I've got
fat
some-
arms, but
I've
arms
got
nonetheless.
some, I've got some pretty. I think they're great. There's
Yeah.
space load stuff that I haven't.
Oh
published
yeah, the
anywhere.
salt lock pistol.
Yeah. I haven't published it anywhere. It's just an idea that I have, and I really like to run with it.
Nice.
So I mean, they on Tamriel they'll rely on magic because they're so naturally equipped to deal with necromancy and destruction magic. that-
Telekinesis.
Yeah, I mean that they can use a levitation spell. There they are, and suddenly they're hovering around giant wiggly,
Yeah.
wiggly boys. But in space, where the rules are a little different, and sidearms have kind of, and space torpedoes and things. Cyrus the Restless actually used the slowed as a torpedo once. It was awesome.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
He took down a battle spire with it.
Yeah. Just blew
And
up
they
the
crashed
battle
to the moon.
crashed into the moon. It was so great. I loved it. So they do the same thing. And I got this idea from Cyrus the Restless versus Tiber Septim, where that happened. So basically, Slode have like flintlock pistols that they use in space.
But the ammunition is their babies.
Ammunition is their larva. And so they'll load a larva in there, and it's got a little salt block on there. And so
is this fifth era?
This is. I mean, whenever. I mean, this is probably fifth era. Yeah.
Like Coda,
and
Sloda.
Yes.
Oh,
Coda,
cool.
Coda era, because you've got space wars and shit. That's how the Slode do. And so when they run out of ammo, usually they'll go in even numbered squads when they're like boarding a ship or something. There'll be like 4 of them or whatever. So if 2 of them die, 2 of them can still reload. They reload by fucking.
Jeez.
Oh yeah.
They're pretty cool.
So like
it's incredibly dumb.
So like I've got this kind of image in my head where
The
Slode
salt thing is incredibly dumb.
I know, right? But it's fucking sweet. So that like a Mannonite or something is like walking through the ship.
My ultimate weakness, salt.
It's not the salt itself. It's the baby that's in there.
No. What would happen if you dumped the?
If you just dumped a cart full of salt on a Slode?
Yeah,
they would die.
Yeah, they're still slugs.
Yeah,
they are slug toads. Slodes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that if the Numidian had brought a giant salt shaker, he could have defeated Traus?
Yes.
Yes, but he didn't because he said no.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have this image of like a Mannonite or something, like running frantically through like the halls of his ship. And he like rounds the corner, and like a slider door opens, and there's 2 Slode like fucking. So he like runs away, and the Slode come around and kill him.
See, all right, now here's a better question, Andrew. I want to ask you: when Slode procreate and create children, do they lay a clutch of eggs?
Yes.
All right. Now, are these hard shell eggs or more fish style eggs?
More like fish style eggs. Yeah.
So what you're saying is, the moment those eggs are laid, you can just pull the embryo out and use it as a bullet.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Yes.
If it were any other way, I would be extremely pissed off at you.
Yes. Oh yeah. No. I knew where you were going.
Good. You better.
Yeah. No,
you better catch what I'm saying.
That's why I love it so much. Like that, they gotta fuck, and then it's supposed to be horrifying. Like that.
It is horrifying, but that's not gonna stop me from thinking it's hilarious
like
too.
Two tentpoles. Yeah, they're fucking each other with tentpoles.
I will be back in a moment. This is so dumb.
The other mods before I became a mod on Tesla, they removed that post. And I had to go and like find it. I had to go and contact Rusty Shackelford, who wrote it. I had to get him to send me the original thing, and I've got it saved as a document. I mean, I could go back and
it's still up, I think.
I mean, it might be now. Someone might have gone back and reapproved it. Maybe it was me. I don't know.
Is there any connection? Just want to ask, is there any connection between Telvanni and Slode? They're similar in philosophy.
Not really. No.
No.
The Telvanni get a lot of their stuff from the Dreg.
Text. Oh, it's in the text archive. I found it. No joke.
Oh, the hot steamy Slode sex.
Here it is. It's still up.
All right, I'm lurking again. Going in lurk mode.
All right.
It links to a Google Docs. It's not in the thing.
Okay.
But you can find it on the Tesla wiki.
I think that's what he sent me. So yeah.
Oh God. Can we go talk about something lighter now?
Yes, we can.
Well, bringing it back round to the restoration conversation, yeah, I will just point out the entire little infiltrate the houses of healing section in additional skills required for necromancers. Surgical skills are a absolutely necessary part of necromancy, and one of the best ways to learn those surgical skills is to infiltrate the houses of healing and learn it from the restoration mages as they are learning it themselves.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you also get the ability to use the necromantic healing spells as well. So it's a combination of actual kind of physical medicine as well as magic. It's not far-fetched at all, I don't really think. And I think it makes more sense than just having magical healing, to be honest, especially in tests. It's like you've got to have a bit of both just because of the way that the universe works.
Yeah. That's cool. That might be a cool thing to add in that piece I want to write now.
I do apologize. While you people were talking about Slodes doing it like they do on the Discovery Channel, I went and grabbed myself some Queen Iren Cola.
Where's the baby gun again?
And if you people don't understand my joke of Queen Iren Cola, RC Cola, Royal Crown.
RC Cola is lovely.
That was my pity laugh.
Whatchamacallit? Has the Elder Scrolls Legends ARG been brought up yet?
Oh Lord.
No.
Has what been brought up?
I don't play Legends at
I
all.
don't either, but
I
that's
do.
still pretty wild. All right, so long and short, for the upcoming expansion to Elder Scrolls Legends, there's this. There's essentially an ARG going on. The first step led to this website that is essentially just Abner Thorn staring at us, waiting for the correct password. And there's a post about it on RTS Lore. There's a post about it on the.
They did an RNG for the first expansion, but it was smaller.
Right.
They were uploading pieces of a map that you had to assemble on Twitter. This one is much more complicated.
Yeah, it's really there's like it's potentially draconic. So basically this is just to raise awareness, but especially Elder Scrolls Online players especially
they're doing cross promotion.
Yeah, they suspect that you guys are going to actually have to check out like the 3 locations in that main quest, as well as the halls of the Colossus. And maybe there will be hints in Elder Scrolls Online.
Sparky Pants also uploaded essentially a lore book to the Elder Scrolls Legends Reddit.
I did see about the lore book. And I read
it's pretty
that.
cool. It's pretty cool that they're doing that. I hope to see more of that.
Yeah.
This is the best, in my opinion, this is the best thing that has come out of Legends.
Oh, for sure.
I think
the fan interaction,
but this is awesome. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, Isle of Madness is awesome in my opinion. I think that has that's the best depiction of Sheogorath since 2006. Sorry.
Which I mean, I wish I cared enough to like buy these expansions because
I didn't buy any of them.
Oh,
I unlocked them with my hard sweat playing the game.
Yeah, no, I don't have that kind of time. I'm too busy playing ESO.
Okay, yeah, fair point.
I play
ESO, boys. You gotta start looking. It's
no, I don't want to.
Speaking of Sheogorath, what did you guys think of the Skooma Cat quest?
I haven't found that yet.
Hey everybody, it's Skooma Cat.
Oh god, not this again.
Oh, stop, fine.
It was pretty cool.
That was silly.
It's pretty hilarious. It's like a tiny cat outfit with Shiogorth's voice coming out of it.
That sounds very silly.
It's still Wes Johnson, right?
No, it's the other guy who does. Wes Johnson doesn't do Shiogorth for online. It's another guy doing an impression, but it works okay. The funny thing is that they essentially talk about quantum mechanics.
Yeah, I haven't found that yet. I've been focusing on leveling up my necromancer.
There's like a moon priest, and you can ask him what's up with the skooma cat? Why Shiogorth is in the form of a cat? And he'll answer with, he is the skooma cat as he is as Fadomei made him. You call him Shiogorth, we call him Shegorath. He and his litter mates are cats who wear the coats they want us to see, or something like that.
Yeah.
Basically, the gods change as they are perceived.
Which I don't know that I like that.
Oh no, Chief.
I like the idea that the different cultural representations of the deities are separate entities but related to the same oversoul.
That's kind of not what the quest implies. It implies that they're the same being, just perceived differently.
Yeah.
Even Shiogorth's realm of oblivion is different.
Yeah, which is what I'm saying. I don't particularly like
this skooma cat has a different realm of oblivion. It's not the Shivering Isles. It's the skooma cat's cloister.
To be fair, there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to have more than one area of oblivion.
Oh, absolutely. Look at Sanguine.
Yeah, well, Sanguine, the myriad realms of revelry, and then
100,000.
Yeah, and then
10 moon shadows.
Klavka's Vial has a bunch too.
There's the 10 moon shadows. What else? A lot of There's the Shiogorth has a realm of cheese, the Cheesemonger's Hollow.
Yeah.
Which is like a giant hollow cheese.
It's so dumb.
Of course he does.
I feel like the only Shiogorth I actually ever end up enjoying is Daggerfall Shiogorth, and that's kind of it.
I recommend you check the Isle of Madness expansion for.
I don't know.
I have.
For Legends.
I like Morrowind
for Legends.
I like Morrowind.
My whole point is that, like, specifically Shivering Isles kind of put me off of Shiogorth.
It's the whole cheese thing.
Yeah, it's the whole thing of like now he's no longer madness; he's just goofy.
Yeah,
Andrew, you should link that article.
That is why I'm recommending that you check the
that
Isle
article.
of Madness.
That article broke the bandwidth on my site.
Hell yeah!
Oh God!
Because I shared it on Testlore, and the thread I shared it in got a lot of traffic, and so a lot of people were looking at my article, and
This is why I'm telling you guys. Elder Scrolls Legends, the fucking card game of all things, has the best depiction of Shiogorth as a serious threat, as a legitimately frightening being.
Which I wonder if that's on YouTube, so I don't have to play it.
It is on YouTube.
Okay, good.
I can try to find like a stream or something.
If you can find one, that'd be awesome. That would save me some searching time.
I'll look for it after.
All right.
It's pretty okay because the whole main quest is about a guy whose son, he's a Dunmer who he's returning home from travels, and his son is mad. His son, like, he's like, and he's determined to find a way to cure his son. He travels to the temples, he visits mages, he He goes to doctors, he goes to a lot of people, and no one can save him. Because it's just his mental condition. There's no way to fix his son, so to speak. And so desperately he goes to the Shivering Isles to try to make a deal with Sheogorath to get his son safe again. And then Sheogorath like, okay, I'll cure your son if you do these tests for me. And then throughout the whole duration of the quest line, he slowly goes insane himself. And by the end of it, he's doing despicable things and completely lunatic, but he's still convinced he's doing the right thing because he wants to save his son. And there's a twist near the end that I won't spoil, but it's really great.
That actually does sound pretty good.
It is. It's surprisingly good as a storyline. And it's told through the framing device of his journals.
Oh yes, it's my favorite.
He narrates the story in first person because you're reading his journals.
Oh, where'd you go? Oh, there we are. Snack.
I found some sushi.
Found?
That
That sounds
doesn't
healthy.
sound good. That sounds very dangerous and against the health code.
Ooh, that looks.
It was in the fridge.
Oh,
I like sushi.
It's
Was
my
it covered?
found it like left
Oh, yeah,
out.
it was
Good.
it was my dinner last night, and
All right.
I couldn't finish the whole thing, so I took it in a box, and I wasn't sure how the rice would do.
That's fine.
But these California rolls are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I never talked about Altmer stuff tonight.
Do it.
go.
Well, everyone's here. I could talk about more of the currency stuff we were doing last time because I
Plenty
had
time.
some more ideas for that.
Hell yeah.
Is that what you want to do? We can do that.
If anyone else wants to.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh god,
Alright.
the lag is so hard.
I have got my notes in front of me.
Oh,
So yeah, last time we basically decided that the Welkington Vala stones were used as a currency by the Aelids, with charged stones being considered to have more value. That as is the Stormlight Archive, which I have not read. And I raised the idea that the old had specially crafted glass marbles as their currency. I sort of had the idea that maybe to distinguish between like denominations, they do something in the crafting process, probably some sort of magical process, to make some sort of like shape inside the marble. So like you can have like a little tree inside your marble or something along those lines.
Yeah. Or a
And
star or something.
Yeah, something like that. And we mentioned Osma having like bone tokens or something. And I thought, yeah, maybe like decorated with feathers of a particular color or something to denote value, stuff like that.
I could say something pretty good for Bosmer. Bone tokens, but from specific animals.
Yeah, that's it would also be difficult to enforce is the problem. Like there'd be a lot of forgery issues there.
Yeah. But I feel like a good enough Bosmer hunter could tell specific bones just by composition.
That is true, yeah. I'm sure there'd be some way to check that.
So yeah, I've also got a Dunmary idea, because we were having a bit of trouble last time with that one. How do we feel about lace? Lace made from things like spider silk and stuff like that. So they have specially trained insects that make these really intricate lace or tapestries that they use as currency.
Ooh, I'm not sure.
That could be very interesting.
It could be interesting, but it would also be quite cumbersome. So that might be more of a large, very large amount of money.
If I may ask, what is all this for? Just for funsies?
Curiosity.
Yeah, we're talking about different kinds of
Different kinds of currency everyone uses.
currency that different cultures would use. Because
Something I want to say for Altmer then.
Ah.
I have a distinct feeling that Altmer would specifically make currency out of an alloy that is magic resistant. And by extension, most shopkeepers would have effectively that kind of alloy on their tabletops. The reason why, so you know that whole tradition of shopkeepers, like they'll rub the currency on the table to make sure it's pure and then take it?
yeah,
No.
Well, it's kind of a thing. Whenever shopkeepers were taking money or paying off or giving someone money for trading something in, they would often rub it on the table, specifically so that they could acquire gold dust on the table and eventually make kind of a little bit of gold off of that. My thought with the Altmer is that they would have an alloy on their table that shuts off spells for the express purpose of making sure the coins aren't forgeries that are trying to be glamored.
Good. I like it.
Yeah, I could see that working.
yeah. I feel like if anywhere was going to be a high magic area,
It's going to be the Altmer.
it's Somerset. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything,
I just
everything
quite like
is
my
magic.
glass marbles.
Yeah.
Even the benches, they aren't content having them, like being normal benches.
Listen, normal benches suck ass.
They put like
They
a
hurt.
levitation
They're
on
not cushioned.
it. So they
They're
enchant.
painful to sit in for long periods of time.
Well, they enchant the top of it so that it's a little softer, and
Yeah.
the bottom they enchant to levitate so that it's just a slab of soft stone. It
Yeah.
has a little bit of shock to it.
Or do you guys not do that? Is
Yeah,
this weird?
just, trivial things like that. It would be so much easier to just build a bench, put
Spending
it
all
over
this
there.
time trying to upholster all of your furniture. Why don't you just make the wood soft?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, it's
That's like a really
simultaneously-
basic. That's a really basic alteration spell.
It's
That actually sounds like something that
easier.
the ultimate extra as they are would inevitably do to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, look, I know that silk can tatter easily. Why do you think I enchanted it to be unbreakable? Like, okay, I would like to point out that in the Clockwork City, that is a thing. Most enchantments are high magic, but when you go to Slagtown, they make it clear that there are enchantments that are just meant for like keeping clothes clean or keeping them from tattering.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely
Yeah, I,
love.
I was going to say this sounds like something that the Telvanni would kind of adopt, like
Yeah.
because like their towers, you can't get to the upper levels without levitating. Just having in
If
the
you can't
upper levels,
levitate like a
this-
normal person, get out.
Yeah. Having their bed just be like this slab of wood, which they've enchanted so that it feels like a feather mattress, and it just floats there. That's totally a Telvanni thing as well as an Altmer thing, I feel.
Yes. Which also happens to be about 12 or 13 feet above the ground at all times.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. If you can't levitate to reach your bed, then yeah.
That's your own damn fault.
What are you doing?
I really like the idea of because obviously an enchanter would have to spend a long time learning how to do stuff, but there's no reason why you couldn't have the domestic village enchanter of small and basic shit.
Yeah.
And then things like maybe making some mittens for the blacksmith that just repels enough heat that you won't get burned picking up emergency drop stuff.
Yeah. There,
Making blanket form.
I feel like that is a very Altmer thing. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it could be a very Altmer thing that, like, in school you're taught at least, like, the basics of enchanting, so you can at least know how to, like... you at least know enough magic to pretty quickly like sew up a hole in your pants or something.
Speaking of school, you just gave me an idea.
I
Not
better have.
necessarily of not necessarily student loans, but like a really good idea for mage students to make a bit of side hustle, keep their pockets lined, is just doing like small basic enchantments on random objects for people in the
Yeah,
village.
like the fishery in King Killer.
The what?
The fishery.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna take your word
That's
for
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take your word for it.
it. All right, it sounds good. I'm writing that down actually.
The fishery is the nickname for it. It's the artificery, which has been shortened to fishery. They use runes to create basically magical items such as twice toughened glass, so that glass doesn't break. Sympathy lamps, so because the light's more reliable than candles and torches and stuff. That kind of thing. But yeah, it's basically magical craftsmanship at its most, like at a basic level. But yeah, it's great.
I've just written down in my little notepad file of ideas I sometimes get to. I'm going to write up like an article that's just a catalog handout of available enchantments in town.
Yeah. Do it.
Will do. It also sounds like something that'd be fun to mock up in Photoshop.
Yeah, like hyper practical shit.
Like knives that never get dull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like an absolute blessing.
Wait, your
to me.
knives get dull?
Knives.
Yeah, because we use them.
I really do need to learn how to sharpen better, but at the moment I am busy and lazy and end up just either working with very dull knives, which is dangerous, or spending too much money to get someone else to do it.
Please never work with dull knives.
Oh, I have learned many, many times. There's about 7 or 8 scars on both of my hands. Usually from bad chisels. But yeah, thank you for the many ideas, folks. I'm getting quite a few this time.
So I also did I also thought of a Dwemer one. That's fairly simple. It's just like coins made out of Dwemer metal that have been oxidized to different colors.
Oh yes, I love that.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, the Dwemer coins that you collected in Morrowind, they were silver.
Yeah.
So that does kind of fit in the in the theme that you're going for. They were oxidized to have a silver appearance, but were actually made out of Dwemer metal.
That's
Yeah,
like,
I remember.
I feel like they would have the lowest, like silver would be the lowest.
I was thinking like untreated Dwemer metal would just be the lowest denomination.
Like it's still almost impossible to make from scratch, so it's pretty solid from non-artivist kind of perspective.
I feel like untreated Dwemer metal just wouldn't be a denomination because it's so common, right? So like a bleached or a silvery kind of metal, that would be the bottom rung. As normally we think of silver as like the second, it's the middle tier, like copper, silver, gold.
Maybe blued. That's if it treats like steel, which it might not.
Yeah.
I was thinking like titanium, but because I've done that. I have taken a blowtorch to titanium and it was fun.
And the fact that we find those silver ones in Morrowind so often, that would be effectively like finding pennies.
I see where you're going with that.
Yeah. So
I'm catching your cold.
It's not that there's just the one Dwemer coin. It's just that we find pennies all the time. Like walking down the street, there's a penny within 500 feet of you right now, probably.
Actually, I do have an American penny on my desk somehow.
I fucking told you.
They get everywhere, and I don't know how. But yeah, like
they really do get everywhere.
They're the herpes of the banking world,
right?
Yeah.
That's a flattering comparison.
They are.
Um,
They are literally useless. They
cries.
cost more to make
I
than
don't-
they're worth.
I don't know why our government makes them. Yeah.
I think it's mostly because there's a lot of machinery that still uses pennies. So in order to stop using them, we would have to go around the entire country and find all that machinery
Oh,
and
no.
set up to not use pennies anymore.
Oh no!
And let's
So
be
what
honest,
about
is our
the
government really going to do that? Are they proactive enough to do that? The answer is no.
Not currently.
Anyway, coins. Sorry, I just suddenly had an idea and I need to like bloat it before I forget it again. Possibility of old Yakuden coins being made out of Damascus steel. Yes, no.
Yeah.
I would argue
or,
malachite.
or Damascus orichalc.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, orichalc, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, I can see orichalc coins.
And they'd be a lot like, if you look at Chinese yuan and like
like the coins with the square holes in the middle.
Yeah, they got the holes in them. Yeah.
I would say either square holes or the coins are crescent shaped.
Ooh, I like that.
Because, scimitars.
Yeah.
How about there's a hole in the coin in the shape of the moon?
And when curved coins. Curved
coins. They hurt so much to hold. Please, God help me.
I have 3 of them in my pocket and now I can't move.
I fell on my pocket and now my leg is bleeding.
If it hurts to hold the currency, it dissuades greed.
Right?
I like it. It also dissuades like hoarding.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
to be fair, I
actually
don't think Yokuden philosophy really cares about hoarding, though.
I don't know. It's just a fun idea. Although on that logic, looping back to Bosma, if you made the general currency something that was actively dangerous to get, like a boar tusk, then that would be kind of neat. I don't have anywhere to go with that. I just thought it was a neat idea.
No, I can see that.
Because then, like, if you
If
want to
it's
hoard
actively
milk,
dangerous
then
to
go
get,
on,
then
like
it's
that.
very difficult to actually. It can be very difficult to actually forge it or make a forgery.
Yeah. I was just immediately picturing someone just like trying to.
Like, I would
hammer
imagine
out-
any sort of Bosmer quote unquote school would teach you enough about wildlife that you could just look at a coin that's supposed to be made out of boar tusk and immediately say, no, that's just elk. That's just elk antlers. The fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Although I did just have a little remembering of the recessive genes for not incisors, sub canines, I think, in certain deer might make them rare enough to be useful as currency. I remember that elk ivory used to be used as a currency amongst some of the peoples in America. So like there's always like, regional variants of, if a place only has elk but doesn't have boar, you have like some kind of exchange where like the danger is replaced by just rarity in general.
I imagine the best place to change your money is Falinesti.
Ooh, why is that?
Falinesti wanders around, so you get money from all over the place.
I can see that.
I really like the idea of like a section of Falinesti just being like the stock exchange, like desperately trying to like we're drowning in boar tusks. What do we do here?
Sell.
Well, I was thinking about what like an awesomer currency might be as well. And I was thinking, like, they value strength a lot, so maybe, like, trophy hunting could be used as a currency.
I have an idea.
You trade taxidermied heads or something.
I would say that they still have coins because it's their Altmer ancestry, but the coins are exceptionally heavy.
Yeah. They're just, like, the size of a fucking cannonball.
Yeah.
Actually,
like, their coins are the size of your palms, so, like, one iron coin, which might be enough to get you like let's say like a bratwurst on a bun, because that's the thing.
Sounds pretty good.
That might weigh like 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, you could always just straight up trade in knives because of the forging potential of each community.
Oh yeah. Instead of like really heavy, it's the really sharp.
And it's like, how good metal can you make, and therefore how much wealth do you intrinsically have?
Yeah. Well,
but
I like that.
I understand the concept of it might just be really sharp, but I feel like orcs don't necessarily care about sharpness. They care more about durability and strength.
Oh, definitely.
Because let's be honest, whenever I think an orc, I usually actually think Warhammer. Well,
But-
not Warhammer the series, but
Make it
Warhammer the weapon.
I do remember in Morrowind, I'm going to say, because I think they sort of like dropped the ball on it a little bit in Oblivion, and then in Skyrim it was just like what it was. But I remember in Morrowind they were mentioning that some of the finest forge work came from orcs because of their,
Yeah.
intrinsic
Like they
skill.
screwed it up in Skyrim, but at the same time they also said it's the best forge work.
It is the best
So-
forge work, but it's not pretty, and that actually annoyed me a little bit. Like, not that it
Because
wasn't
Morrowind had very pretty looking work.
revoltingly basic and primitive, and like someone whose entire culture is centered around doing this for a living wouldn't turn out work like this.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why ESO is better, because they have good looking orcish equipment.
Yeah.
I will give them the orc equipment in ESO is a lot prettier, and therefore looks like it took skill to make. Which, yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of feelings about that. I have a lot of feelings in general.
Well, that is the human condition.
Indeed.
Too many
Also-
feelings. Get rid of them. Become robots.
Just let me make stuff and sit in my quiet little hole. But no, I have to feel things. Alas.
Why must I feel?
Only to suffer.
So,
Riley once told me. Sorry.
so for the Saxhleel, for the Argonians,
Shells.
I know it's been mentioned before that they use like seashells or something,
Yeah.
but I was wondering if the idea of using shed scales, like their own shed scales as coins,
Yeah.
might be interesting. Like trading a part of
Ooh.
themselves,
Ooh,
I
that creates like a universal basic income.
because
I love
they don't have a concept of time the way everyone else does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So as far as they're
their
concerned,
concept
a
of
scale
time-
that has been shed is still part of them.
Perfect, because like, okay, so you shed your scales. Not only is that change, right? You are changing. That is
Also,
play. But it also is universal basic income. You are making an amount of money, like
By-
at a constant rate, right?
yes.
That's actually really dope. I dig that.
Because I have this, it may or may not be supported, but a running thought that Argonians' teeth regenerate like crocodiles.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I really
Yeah,
like the idea of just some Argonian wandering up to a trader and be like, hey, this is, 50 gold. What are you doing? And it's like, oh, it's okay. I'll just pay with Argonian money. And they're like, okay, what's that? And it just gets some
Just like
fire.
pulls out a tooth. Not even necessarily a lot, just like one.
Yeah. And the guy's just like, fuck, take it. Jesus.
Although,
Wait, what? No, I'm paying for it. Please take my tooth.
Elias Imblad in the
Alias.
in our group, he mentioned how and one of his headcanons is that there are certain Bosmer who have rows of shark teeth that do that.
Yes.
That they you lose a tooth in chewing or whatever, and the other one just kind of like moves forward to fill that spot.
Well, yeah, I think you've mentioned that before.
Yeah, and I think that's cool as hell.
We really need to get Elias on one of these one day.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Caring.
no, I like Elias.
He's a good boy.
And I like the idea that different Bosmer have different animal qualities.
Same.
Yeah, it's all dependent on what your ancestors were like.
Well, not only that, but when Ifre solidified their forms, I mean, they were constantly shifting, right?
So
Between
they can't all have landed on the
different
same.
animal forms. So, like, I had a character in my tabletop game who was Bosmer. His name is High Trousers, and I described him like a squirrel. He was very, very shifty, very, very twitchy, and
Always collecting stuff.
yeah, just all of it. He tried to steal like some gold from the party. He just had a very energetic kind of, oh, hey, listen, I got a plan. He's a little squirrel man. And,
Oh,
so
fuck out of this.
I like the idea that Bosmer have a lot of animal qualities. At least the males should be like forest nymphs, because that's a Kirkbride thing.
Yeah, but Kirkbride also said male Bosmer need to be ugly, and I don't agree with that.
Yeah, like you got one that's got like boar tusks, like
No, like they all looked ugly. Their faces were not pleasant to look at.
Oh,
They were strange boys. Although, if we're going with different animal qualities for different like cultural regions of the Bosma, which would be fun, we could actually carry over a small amount of sexual dimorphism from the animals that they represent, which is kind of fun. So then you have like either only males have antlers or males have larger antlers for the tribe that happens to have them. You have like boar type folk with like different sort of tusks, which would be interesting, especially in response to the wood orcs, whether or not they would trade better because they kind of look a bit similar.
Peacocks and peahens, perhaps.
Oh yes, they would be the most fun party folk.
Okay, new headcanon. Right. Male Bosmer wear brightly colored clothing. Female Bosmer do not.
I love it. All
Are they bowerbirds now?
Like just because.
I would like to interject to that.
Yeah.
Male Bosmer and more masculine presenting females wear bright clothing.
Well, yeah.
Male and male aligned.
Obviously, it would depend on gender identity. Yeah.
The only reason I bring that up is because I think, as many people have noticed over the years, Bosmer culture seems very much influenced by a lot of different Native American groups.
Yeah.
And that is something that is somewhat common in some groups. Not just that, but like if a man were to present as a woman, he could marry a man, and he would be a wife.
Yeah.
I also really like the idea
Native Americans are awesome.
Yes. I've probably brought this up like too many times and been kind of obnoxious about it, and I'm sorry about that. But I do tend to enjoy the idea of man and mare as groups having completely different like iterations of and representations of how gender and sexuality works.
Oh no, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. Sure.
Which I don't know. I really like the idea of, especially running off the idea of basically Bosma emulating birds in color and clothing. Then you could just have like a really fun approach to gender as something that isn't very serious to them, or rather like something that isn't as crushingly like this is a life-changing thing that everyone needs to either be very aware of or you need to hide from everyone. Whereas more like Bosmer are now just fairly high percentage of gender fluid, and no one really gives anyone any particular.
I find something very curious to me that, at least from what I've seen in Somerset as I've run around there, there seems to be this overarching consensus that that the differences between men and women aren't that many to speak of.
So that actually runs really well with how the Ultima are in general.
Yeah, they don't necessarily care about how you identify. They care about what you do.
Yes. They care that you're, putting forward towards the society.
Yeah.
And doing the best to be the best.
Listen, please just do the best you can.
Yes. And then do better than that.
Yes. Listen, if you can't do better than the best you can do, what are you doing wrong?
And what is your purpose? Why aren't you improving? I don't know. There is an amount of obvious toxicity there, which has been mined to death, but there's also a fair amount of positivity in the idea of like, we don't care about you at all.
I literally could not care less about you. Just do the best you can.
Yes.
But I feel like there is a major difference when it's in reference to Altmer families, however. In reference to Altmer families, they do care about what you do. And
then
perhaps
there's
on
like
a much deeper level, given that we have seen that Altmer do actually care about their families.
thank fuck, honestly.
I think in a much more
eugenics for a minute.
I feel like in
What? No.
a much more simplistic, almost stereotype level.
Mm.
I feel like Mannish races, specifically like the Nords, they kind of epitomize.
Oh crap!
They kind of epitomize gender roles. Nords would be, you know, they're masculine men with big beards. And,
Yeah, everyone has to be a man.
And women are I mean, they may be a little burly, but they're
still fair ladies.
They're women's women, you know. They have big tits and they're
man's women.
You know,
whereas women are terrifying. So.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, and then, but then you look at like the Altmer, and I feel like both would be a little more androgynous.
Yes.
Right. So I kind of think of like the ancient Greeks, like when you think about, you know, how like David, the statue David, has a really tiny penis.
And because that was the style of the time.
It's because
it was the style of the time, you see.
well, yeah, and it's because he was modeled after the Greeks, who in all their statues, which also have tiny penises, it wasn't so much like the size of the penis did not matter in regards to
did
man.
not matter. It was the concept of beauty that mattered.
Well, beauty, and then like intellectualism and emotion. Those things all made the man, right?
Yeah.
If you can rise above your sexuality, you are more of a man.
Yes.
And so that was something that the Greeks really thought, and so that's why that was their expression of the male form. Here's a small penis. Wasn't he a big penis for it? It doesn't do anybody any good. This is a smart motherfucker right here. Wasn't he a big honking dick for?
Wasn't that like part of the thing of Priapus was, you know, he had such a massive dick that he was clearly an idiot. I can't remember where.
I think I know that story, and it is hilarious.
Yeah.
This running thing of like, if you have a massive penis, then you can't be doing any logical thinking because you just have this dick.
Because all the blood's going to your dong.
Right?
Yeah. Well,
for one.
So the point I'm trying to make,
you know, well, I know that
is that the Altmer are more in touch with maybe their emotions and the artistry, and so you know, like an Altmer could do something just in the, you know, what he can say. Okay, I'm doing a manly thing, and a Nord would see that and go, "Ha, gay."
Yes,
you know, I mean, that would just be
gay.
Oh god, they're just straight from 2005.
And so that's like that's part of the difference there, is the Altmer don't give a shit. Like, they're much more enlightened in that way, whereas the Nords are much more, oh, I'm a man, look at me, I'm a big
I feel like
raised.
Bretons are following a similar sort of suit.
Sort of. I feel like it's kind of a blend of the two almost, because you've got, you know, the aristocrat, the wealthy gentleman, you know, the Count of Monte Cristo. He is the epitomal man. Yeah, Dan, I can see you bouncing over there.
I know. I'm so pleased.
God damn.
I feel like I've unlocked a bit of a puzzle.
I can't even see what Dan's doing. I'm fighting a giant blue lady dragon.
Oh, it's a lady dragon now.
Well, yeah. No, Lunastra is a lady dragon. She's a giant lion dragon who cares for her husband.
Sexy. Was that the alien dragon?
No, this is you know, Chinese lion dragons.
Oh yeah,
it's basically what she is.
Oh, that's cool.
That sounds rad. Actually, that was what I was sort of hoping the Elsewhere dragons would turn out to be.
That would have been really cool, huh?
Although that's also a pretty fun idea of how to think about Toshraka.
Yeah, or Alkosh.
Or Alkosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, more lion dirks, please. Yes, thoughts that I suddenly had. Sorry, my attention span is bad, and once I have an idea, I'm like latched onto it really hard until I get to throw it somewhere. So if we take the Nords as like Ultramask Dubro shitheads, in this example by the not at all biased guy,
Which they absolutely are.
oh, definitely. But so you have like them as more or less static, like unchanging, the way that man as a group tends to view the world of like, this is how we are.
This
we
is
are
how you
treated
must be,
we are
because
not
this is the
ever
natural
changing
state.
from this. Like they came over from Mora and have pretty much ever since been pretty dedicated to staying like that. And that's a thing that we have. But then you get down to the Mare, which, as has been beautifully outlined with the relationship to Greek artistry and history, much more into the emotive, the constant shift.
They're more into the poetic.
More towards the poetic than the solid, unchanging stone of the world. And that's not wrong, but I think that it has a lot to say about the differences between man and mare in general. Whereas where the mare can often be seen as more effeminate than the man races for this reason, that they are more focused towards magic and emotion and personal development.
Yeah.
Underlying
hell, the only actual quest dealing with the power of emotions in ESO is specifically in Auradon. And the only other quest that deals with emotions has to do with a totem that was created by aliens that tore out a Breton guy's emotions. So he was just lying there completely apathetic to everything.
The thing about
So in
Breton,
both cases, it's specifically elves that deal with emotions.
the thing about Bretons, I think that that's actually a really good point, because you're looking at them as basically men who are trying so hard to be elves, or elves who are trying so hard to be men, and they're never entirely sure which they should be, and so their culture ends up being heavily influenced by what
Whoever's in charge of the
Mare
time.
feel is most important. So you have emotion, magic, higher learning, but held to in the stone and stodginess of the unmoving man blood in them. And I find that a really interesting lens to view their cultures from. I'm not sure where I'm going with this. Someone please jump in.
You're going somewhere interesting with it.
The other fun part of, if we're just arbitrarily assigning masculine and feminine to these ideals, just for the sake of this experiment, not for any particularly inherent reason, but jumping forward a few eras, I guess, and you have Vivek, as we always end up with Vivek.
Oh God, you're right.
Is having spent so much of existence either trans or intersex or possibly both, because their history is manyfold and maybe none of them true.
Time is convoluted in Lordran.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Having spent the majority of their time as a god, both non-binary but also presenting mostly masculine, in at least as far as the Cyrillic translations of the sermons go, which I found as an interesting explanation that was put forward by someone as to why Vivek only refers to themselves with male pronouns, and the answer given was basically translation error, which I guess that's also fine. But it is kind of fun going to examine it as Vivek only truly accepts the feminine part of themselves in the future at a time of massive transition of the universe as a whole. A point towards their own acceptance of their own inner emotional state and that of everyone else, therefore.
The whole transubstitution of Anu thing.
Yeah.
I like that piece.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote most of it.
Hell yeah, you did.
It's certainly an interesting piece.
Someone told me that it felt too forced, and yeah,
But that's the whole point of it.
Yeah, we were looking
Of course it's forced.
we were looking at the Elder Scrolls through the lens of trans issues. Like, what parts can we
really?
Yeah, it
There's
was
a really frustrating tendency for people to like suddenly be like, I can't read, and just not bother reading the part where it's like, this is how we're choosing to look at it for the purposes of examining this topic, not
Yeah.
this is in fact because we say it is.
Yeah,
Goddamn.
yeah, no, and I mean, anytime I have a lore essay, I make
You preface
really
it
clear.
with showing what kind of lens you're looking at it through.
Well, that, and also this is entirely subjective. Like, this is not authoritative. This is just how we're looking at it today. And we're not trying to convince you. This is just something that we wanted to.
You're allowed to make those.
Yeah, it's something we just wanted to explore. Like, I mean, accept it or don't. We don't really care. It's just for the enjoyment of.
Experiments are for. See what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, all my lore essays that I've done, I have admitted quite blatantly throughout. These are just my ideas. They are probably wrong.
Oh, always, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what is it I said in Dreams, Perceptions, and Other Philosophies? I mean, I'm not here to police ideas. What I said. You know, take it or leave it. It really doesn't make a difference to me. This is just how I interpret the Dreamer and the Godhead, and how Akavir and Yokuda, and how all these things kind of mix together. This is how it makes sense to me. And take it or leave it. It doesn't make a difference to me. Yeah, I mean, I like when people accept my views, because then that, especially ones like that where, I put a lot of time and thought into that, and if I've convinced someone, great, that's awesome. I like to be able to offer that to someone, but that's not my goal. That's not what I'm trying to do.
Dang it.
You die again?
Yeah.
Oh. I thought you were saying "dang it" to me, not trying to like influence or convince people.
No, don't worry. I would never do that.
All right. Well, we've hit about 2 hours and 10 minutes or so.
Nice.
So I'm probably going to end it there. And I've got a thing I need help with regarding these videos. And I'm going to start trolling around to see if I can find a couple people to help me out with this. Someone suggested that we go through and we basically create markers like along the video's length to say what topics are discussed when.
Mm.
And so
would that really be possible for us, though? Because we switch back and forth between
I
topics.
I know.
That we previously discussed several times.
Currency reprise number 8.
Yeah. So I mean, even just a brief gloss through, like I'm gonna try and recruit a couple of people and be like, hey, can you watch like these 3 episodes and just see what topics do we talk about, and can you write down like the times we kind of start talking about them, and then I'll just go in and like plug them in, like, yeah, here's we start talking about this and that and the other thing, and then so then they're a little more accessible, and because we don't know beforehand going in what we're talking about, and so it's difficult for someone to who's looking for specific information. Say we're talking about souls, for example. Well, what episode of Casual Lore Chats do we look at? Oh, I don't know. Just go look at some. I mean,
18 hours later, where is it?
Yeah, and then I can, after the fact, add, oh, we talk about this, 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 and this in this episode, and so.
Yeah, I'm sure a bunch of people can.
Yeah, I'll troll around. I'll probably make that one of my jobs tomorrow.
So do you want like a private submission sort of thing, or just throw it into like a
YouTube just PM me, be like, hey, this episode we got this topic at this time, and then this topic at this other time, etc. Just to cover the length of the episode, and then
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably do a few. I don't know, I'll probably end up doing like half of them. I just gotta actually take the time and do it because I gotta go through each video to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah. And then I'm also working on getting the final issue of Volume 1 figured out. I've already got my editorial figured out. I've had that figured out for a little while now. And I've got, I think, 4 other pieces I'm including. I'm going to start hunting for some other ones to include. Because I want this next issue to be pretty great. This last issue was not my strongest design and editing wise, but I don't know. It was kind of it was kind of an unimportant issue, honestly. The cover art turned out really great.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm trying to get. I found a great image of 3 female Khajiit warriors who were like walking towards the camera, and they just look badass. And I want to use them as my cover for the next one. I had some other covers I was going to use for issue 11 that I didn't end up going with. I usually come up with a couple different ideas and see what works. And the Bosmer chick worked out really well this time. And I've got, a Dunmer gal, a close up of her face, and she's like hot and stuff. But
as are most of these covers.
oh yeah, that Almalexi cover, man, that cosplayer is fire, man. It's hot. So, yeah.
This is a weird.
What's that?
It's got to be a weird tone, real quick.
Oh yeah, no.
This is always how it wraps up.
I'm here. What did you expect? So, I'm gonna stop the broadcast now.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Bye, internet. Thanks for
See you
coming.
later.
Yeah, toodles.
Try to do my magic stuff next time.
Yeah. In the immortal words of LaJavion Saunders, drink your Ovaltine.